Would this be classified as a story time number 2? I actually don't know what to call this, but besides a review, I do want to have like this segment where I just talk about a story of something related to this figure. In this case, it's like instant regret. Well, maybe not instant regret, but you know, this feeling of regret that you didn't get these figures early on when they were there. Or maybe didn't even have a chance at all, even if you did, if you knew about them. I don't know how to configure this, but as you know from my Parallax Hal Jordan video where I talked about the infamous, you know, going to 13 Walmarts just to look for that one figure. Quite a story that I will always remember in my early days of hunting this line. Well, actually, it's no longer early, but like, that was one of the first toy hunts that I ever had. So, let's just go with that. That was a pain in the butt. For this one, it is mainly the subject of wishing that I completed a team of figures that just stood out. Even if I didn't read the comics. It wouldn't have mattered because the designs alone in figure form they just look good when they're all together. So, if you do not know who this guy is, or you've never seen him before, do not be shocked. Do not be afraid. Because even I didn't know who this guy was when I got him. So, until I found out where he came from. This is Devastator. Or what you would want to call as Batman Doomsday. Pretty much it's Batman if he became Doomsday. Because back during the Dark Knight's metal or Death metal, I don't remember which one, with the whole creation of the Batman Who Laughs that ushered into this multiversal event of chaos and craziness in the DC comics, which I never followed. The Batman Who Laughs started recruiting all these other Batman variants that existed in the Dark Multiverse. I hope I'm correct with this. This is what I'm remembering. And he would basically recruit them so they can help him in his quest to, I don't know, attack the main universe. I think that was the whole point of it. I don't freaking know what his grand plan was. I'm sorry. I'm so bad at remembering certain things. At the same time, that's the context that I know of how these characters got recruited. They're just from the Dark Multiverse. Since I never actually read the comics, I can't really say what their end goal was. But the point is, this is basically the Justice League, but if they're all Batmans from the negative universe. It sounds crazy. Now, you would think that it might be very uncreative. It might be very lazy. I mean, I wouldn't... That's not a wrong opinion to have. I mean, comics have always done certain things that are kind of overused, right? Where you just feel like this is so uninspiring. But that's the comic stuff. I mean, I'm not going to talk about that whole thing. Like, everybody has their own opinion on that. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. As for the figures, though, it was a very smart idea to bring these figures or bring these characters into figure form. Early in this line, instead of opting for the usual route of making your classic Justice League figures, you know, going straight into the classic Superman, Wonder Woman, or Batman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, all the usual suspects in their classic attire that everybody would want to have, right? Mcfarlane opted for the designs of figures that you probably wouldn't see. Now, the Batman Who Laughs has had many figures in the past, right? He's had statues. I don't know if Mattel ever made him into a figure. I'm not really sure because I never collected DC Multiverse during the Mattel era. or even the DC collectible era from DC Direct. I don't know if he's ever gotten a figure. He probably might have, but he was the only one, maybe, or maybe there were other ones. That's a history that I'm not knowledgeable of. But in terms of McFarlane, though, he opted for these designs. He went straight into designs that he knew would captivate people who have never seen these characters ever in a physical plastic form. Most of them, except for the main guy, right? Because he's popular. So he created Devastator, Dawnbreaker, Murder Machine, Red Death, Grim Knight Batman, the Drown, and of course the Batman Who Laughs. I'm pretty sure that's the whole team. Oh, Merciless. I can't forget Merciless. Yeah, man, Merciless as well. The Merciless was a build figure. The one build wave that I also regret not getting at the time. But of course, like I said, everybody gets into a line at a different point of time and miss out on certain things, which it's not, the end all be all. But so every one of these figures were released. I believe the Drown came after the Merciless wave, so she was like the final one to complete this entire team. My God. I remember when he posted that official image on their Facebook page, their official Facebook page. That photo is just such a cool photo. This is a team that's completed, and anybody who has this entire team on their shelf, you are very lucky to have them. I envy you. I envy you for having all those figures, because I wish I had them too. There's a part of me that wishes they could just re-release all these figures for the sake of new people getting into this line who never got them to begin with. And even some of us older, folks who have been with this line for a while now, who didn't start that early, right? So, of course, I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Especially one of them, Grim Knight. They're not going to re-release Grim Knight. Not because they don't, even if they want to, they wouldn't. They can't because Warner Bros, they put this gun ban on action figures. So action figures can't come with gun accessories, even if the character uses guns as their primary weapons. And to me, I'm not a fan of that. It's really weird. I don't know why that's still enforced, because if you look at Disney with the Marvel Legends stuff, they just recently released a Shield 3-pack with Fury. Who the heck else was there? I don't remember the other two characters that were in that 3-pack, but all of them got guns, okay? They got guns, they got weapons, right? They got stuff. And then over here with DC Multiverse, you can't even have a gun accessory for a character that uses guns. When I talk about the Red Hood figures, I think I'll bring this up again, but point is, it has been a rough couple years getting figures that use guns as their primary weapons, and they don't have them. And if for some reason, I'll just say it now. For some reason, they're fine with the character coming with a sword or a knife, and I'm like, how does this solve that problem? Because the idea behind this ban was the fact that they didn't want to promote violence. I believe that was basically what it was. It was we don't want to promote violence, but it's you don't want to promote violence, but you let your action figure, like Joker and all that, they still have a knife, they still have a sword, or if not a crowbar, or a bat. I mean, that's still pretty violent, right? I mean, if you're going to use that kind of logic, yeah, it's been kind of weird. So, yeah, and that Red Hood that came with, who had a holster and 2 guns, a solo release one, and even back when he was a 2-pack. Oh my God, that Red Hood is going up for so much right now. It's so crazy. Okay, that's a whole different topic. But point is, with this story time regarding to Devastator and the source material he came from, this was a team that I wish I completed. I wish I knew ahead of time. Now, I'm not going to say that I know that it was possible if I would have gotten these guys back in the day completely, like complete the whole thing. Because I do remember Grim Knight and Devastator selling out like crazy. I don't think they ever came back up in stock because this was happening during the time when COVID started. So I don't know if the lockdown was already going on by this point. I don't remember. It's been quite some time. Maybe it did. So yeah. And this figure retailed for $20. So let that sink in. This is a $20 figure. Yes, this guy looks like he could be $30. Because now my camera's not doing a good job, but I'm going to bring in a figure that will show you that what's a good example? A Marvel Legend Deluxe figure, okay? Now, he's not the best example because he came out later, but the point is, this is what Marvel Legends classified as a deluxe figure. Yeah, he's technically a deluxe figure. I'm not going to go into comparisons here, but as you can see, these two guys, Hulk is a little bit taller, right? Because he's straight up while he has more of a hunchback. But the point is, these two types of figures you would think would be $30 figures because they got a lot of plastic to them. They're bulky. They're heavy. Or no, well, they're not heavy. Well, he got some weight. But they do weigh a little bit, right? Like, they got weight to them. You would think these are $30 figures. Anyone would think they're $30. Because that's usually the pricing of deluxe figures, right? Like a big guy like this. Now, this guy is a bad example because he was released during the Toy Biz version. So, he's a Toy Biz anniversary version. So he was even more expensive than the usual deluxe figure. So, but I'm not going to go into prices. Point is, you got that much plastic. And this guy has a lot of he's like one big chunk of plastic for like $20. Now, he didn't come with any accessories, but at the time, I mean, it's still pretty good. Even if he doesn't have any accessories, that doesn't matter. I mean, you got a hulking Doomsday looking figure for $20. You're not paying $30 for this guy. So, and that's where this line stood out to me the most was, if you ask anybody who collected this early on, everybody said the prices were better than Marvel Legends. And that was true. Right? I mean, but of course, over the course of time, with everything that's been going on right now in the real world, things are going up in price. And even the things you wouldn't need, but you want anyways because it's your hobby, even these things go up in price, unfortunately. Right? So, if this was sold today by itself, I don't even know if this thing would be $19.99 anymore, or even $22.99. I wouldn't know how much this thing would cost if it was sold today. Now, the version I have on this table, this is not the original one. This is the re-release version that came with the Superman, Action 1000 Superman. It was a 2-pack that was the Superman versus Devastator 2-pack. And it's probably one of the 2-packs that I actually like, because it was a good opportunity for me to get 2 figures that I never had before. Now, I wasn't a fan of the Superman face sculpt because he's constantly angry. But, that's just how it is. Because the original Superman figure, if you got that Action 1000 a long time ago, there you go. You would have your other head portrait. And that was kind of one of the things that Mcfarlane sucked at. I think most people would agree. Instead of opting to give you an alternate head sculpt, he would re-release the figure again with a different head portrait, and then you would have to buy it. Is that a good thing? I don't know. It really depends on how you look at it. Like, for me, I think it's okay to do that because then you have the same body and you can display with both heads. It's not that bad, but at the same time, the bad part of it is that you still have to spend $20 on that. So yeah, that's a downside right there. So yeah, that's a whole different topic that I can go into, but I won't. Not for this one, not for this video. The point of this video is looking back at a figure that represented the beginning of essentially McFarlane's DC Multiverse. More so the first team that was ever completed, and a team that I wish I can go back and get. A team that I felt a lot of regret for not buying. And I can tell you this, like I remember when Grim Knight was available on Amazon, I did not pay for him. I did not pick him up. I didn't at the time. I didn't think he was cool. And now it's just like one of those regrets where I look back at that figure, it's like, yeah, he's not like the best figure, like especially the guns that he had on his back, because they were all like one molded piece that they had to like sculpt together, and you just peg it on the back. But no matter what, when you put them all together on the shelf as a team, that's where the brilliance of it comes through. That's where it shines. When you have every version of these figures together into like one shelf. And yeah, I still feel a little bit of regret for not getting Grim Knight when I had the chance to, back in the day, right? Now, I do have some of them, not all of them, right? I do have the Batman Who Laughs. I also have the Mortal Kombat version of that, because that one's cool. That's the skin they use for Noob Saibot. And then I also have the Drowned. I did get the Drowned. And then Dawnbreaker from the Green Lantern versus Dawnbreaker 2-pack. And I think that's it. I only have those 4. Oh, wait. Oh, and of course, I did end up getting Merciless. Not the original Merciless. The Patina Edition Merciless. So I have somewhat of a team going on here. It's not complete. And also, one of them is in a really weird color. It's not matching the original color. So, it's not that I don't have any of them. It's just the fact that if I had those original versions, it would have been cool to have on a shelf. And I don't know if people have these type of dreams, but I do sometimes. Like, for example, as you can see in my backdrop all the time now, that Lego Bionicle box. If you grew up with Bionicles, the OG Bionicle era, before the G2 happened, which happened so long ago, back when Bionicles were made, there was so much cool stuff with that. I still have dreams that I walk into a store and they have this excessive stock of Bionicle that they never sold, and they're just selling it for like normal price. And this dream happens really often. Like, it happens like once or twice every year. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to explain that. But sometimes I have those dreams of DC Multiverse figures that I missed out on. And I have this weird dream where I just buy them. And it feels so real. It feels like I walked into a store and just bought it. And then next thing you know, my alarm goes off and I'm like, oh, it was a dream. This is so sad. I don't know what this is. I don't know how to explain this. Maybe some of you probably have similar dreams like this that are similar. So I wanted to talk about this as, I don't know if this is like a story time. I don't know really what to call this right now, this format. So I'll probably just call it story time number 2. But that is how I feel right now every time I stare at this Devastator figure. Just like this little tiny flashback of like, damn it, I wish I had it. So with that, we're gonna look into this figure now. time to get to the review portion of this figure. I don't think I'm going to do a good job with articulation on this guy because I feel like he's still very tight in a lot of places, but because I hardly pose him around. So, one thing you will notice with this guy, and I want to make this clear, this is the second release of this figure. So, a lot of people, I don't think, were fans of the paint style on this one because the original one really opted for that matte, dark gray finish on the skin tone. And it looks better. It looks smoother. It actually looks like his skin is rock. This one opted for more of the glossiness of the paint. So, that's not always good. And I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but in hand, this thing is like really glossy looking, which is kind of sad. So, he's more lighter in the gray. In the back, you know, all that texture, it's all glossy. It is all glossy, and it looks so bad. I've seen videos of the original one. It was like a matte finish color, like it was just smoothed out instead of this glossy paint. So, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could probably do a custom on this if I figure out like what type of paint you could use to kind of make it less glossy and more, you know, like a matte finish. But I never actually thought of doing customs for this guy. Honestly, it's not like the end of the world if I don't do it. So that is regarding the paint. However, for everything else, the sculpt, you know, reusing the sculpt of this figure, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I like the sculpt of it. It's very textured. There's a lot of texture, but on this guy, a lot of like pointy stuff. So yeah, and also the pants, right? He got the pants, the ripped up pants, the ripped up clothes, whatever he was wearing. So, and then of course another detail. I hope I can capture this. Here we go. Ooh, there we go. His mouth can open. So, if you want to have him like looking like he's about to charge at somebody angrily, in an anger way, angrily, yeah, you could do that. So, he also has a tongue. That tongue can move. It's kind of weird. I think it's stuck in there. I don't even know if I can do anything with that tongue right now. Let me take a good zoom in look at those arms. Now, these pieces right here on his arms, they are not sharp. So, and this is another thing going back to like the history of these figures. Early on, a lot of like plastic that they use for certain sharp pieces were sharper. They stopped doing that, so a lot of these pieces you see that you would think would be sharp objects, they're not sharp. These are softer PVC. So this applies also to a lot of these on the shoulder. They're soft, so people don't, it's for safety reasons, I guess, so you don't poke yourself with it or something. But I don't know, it's mainly these pieces, but every other piece on here is sharp though. I mean, look at this. Like, you could poke yourself with this. And if these are sharp, I don't know. I really don't know the reason why. Like, this is all sharp, and then this is all like rubbery plastic. Well, not really rubbery, just soft PVC. I don't know. I think it's kind of weird that they're doing a mix and match. Maybe the other reason is if you drop this figure, it won't break, because this does stick out more than this. So maybe that's why. I don't know. Okay, so on top of that, you have the same thing going on with the legs. He does have those gray rock things with his on his body, like the rest of his body. And of course, I'll always say this every time. Every time a character got freaking claws like this for arms, you know, this reminds me of Wolverine. Except this guy got 4 claws on this side. Yeah, I just think of Wolverine, so This is, yeah, so there's that. There's not really much going on because the paint really does kind of dull it down a lot more than the original one. So it's just like everything's just glossy. But nevertheless, this is still a very nice detail figure that came out a long time ago. So, okay, I want to get into articulation now. As for articulation, as you can see, if you want to move his arm up, no, that's not happening because these little pokey pieces, they hinder, I'm going to zoom in on that, they hinder you from lifting his arm up if you want to try to get his arm to lift up this way. If you want to lift his arms up like this, you can, but again, they're still hindered because the butterfly joint is touching those spikes. So his arms can move, right? And I'll tell you why they can move, because I did dunk this guy in hot water a long ass time ago. I had to. This figure, when I took him out of box, was so stiff. Like literally, like it was like the Bane all over again. That Last Night on Earth Bane. This figure was so stiff everywhere. Like his feet, because he came, okay, so they came pre-posed in a box. Everybody got their opinion on this. I don't know if you like having a figure pre-posed in a box. I don't, because sometimes the way they have them pre-posed warps certain things. Like, for example, like the Flash figures, when they have them in the running pose, it warps the waist piece if it's loose. Like if it's like the softer PVC, it just warps it. And you have to kind of use like heat to like reshape it back or remold it back. He came in a pose, like he's looking like he and Superman are going to clash at each other, right? So one of his feet was literally stuck like this the whole time. And I couldn't even, I had to like heat this up so much just to get it to be loosened. And I put this guy into hot water consistently throughout the day, constantly loosening the joints, just making everything just work, because I did not want to snap anything off, because this figure felt durable. There are some other figures I'll talk about where you don't want to do that. You could do this if you want to, but if you don't want to take the risk, don't do it. I'll say it now because there will be a video on him after this. I think it will be the next video. I could be wrong. The recently released Darkseid figure that is based off of Jack Kirby's artwork. That figure feels very fragile. That Darkseid, I'll go into that whole thing when we get to him. But he feels fragile. That's all I'm going to say. He is someone I will not put into hot water, because I'm so scared something will break. I don't even want to apply heat to him at all, because I'm just scared something will snap. It just feels that fragile. That's never a good sign on an action figure, right? This guy, durable. I knew he was going to, not break on me. Like, sometimes you can feel something that you know won't break. So, he's not like that. So, yeah, these arms also, like I said, single jointed. So, there's rotation right here. His hands can rotate. He also has a hinge right there, so you can also move his hands. And these are some really nice arms. Also, this upper region, except for this lower region, well, they did retool some parts of this. They did use for the Doomsday figure. So if you have the Doomsday figure from that Superman 2-pack that was a Target exclusive, then you would recognize this body, the top part mainly, a lot. Same thing with this arm. Now this arm lifts up a lot better because there's not as much spikes on this side. Or there is, but I guess it just lifts up a little bit better. Still, it's still going to hinder your articulation. But if you do that, it's still pretty good, right? Still okay. Still simple. Also, the arms can bend. It can rotate. Again, all this looseness is thanks to hot water. If it wasn't for hot water, we would not be here. These articulations will not be moving the way they would. Same thing. So you got the you got rotation, right? Yeah. So as for his torso is the only area that was very tight, and I still can't loosen it to this day. It does move a little bit. It's not going to rock back and forth unless you really get in there and do something with it. So I am too scared to do anything with that torso. I tried multiple times. It wouldn't budge. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Who knows, right? As for his legs, you're not going to be kicking anybody at all. Which is so sad because, you know, this figure is supposed to be like, he can kick Superman in the ass. Or he's supposed to be able to do that, right? No, this freaking piece right here hinders his legs, so he can't kick anybody. It can rotate, though. Look at that. Oh, look at that rotation. Look at that. It can do that. I'm sorry it's all zoomed in, but I really want to just, like, emphasize certain articulation. And also, like Bane, the Build-A-Figure Bane, not the... Actually, I wonder if that... No, that Bane I don't think has it. There's rotation down here. I really don't know what that's for. It's nice that it's there. So, and then for his feet, yeah, you got that. You got that. You got the rocker, so you can side to side, and that toe articulation. Boom. That's so cool. So yeah, and then of course the last part of articulation, his head. You're not looking up with this guy. I mean, you can kind of look down. Not really. Yeah, his head is kind of... It kind of sucks. He's not going to be looking at anybody. You twist his head. Yeah. So, nice articulation with the mouth opening and closing. That's a nice touch. But you're not going to get this guy into any sort of crazy poses, unfortunately, because he has a neck that's, you know, hunched back and limited to certain... Oh, there's something there. To a certain neck peg, so, yeah. But this is Devastator. And I really wanted to look back at this figure because this is another reminder why... or what Mcfarlane usually excels at when they are not lazy. Because, my goodness, there have been certain releases recently that have just been disappointing. You know, nothing new, just reusing the same body, repainting them either as a new figure or just, you know, a repaint variant. And look, I understand that figure molds are expensive, because I'm pretty sure this figure mold wasn't cheap to produce. I mean, because this was the thing back then with Mcfarlane figures, especially early on in the wave. He would make one figure mold for a character, and he would never bring it back ever again. You would never see another figure for like a year or two until he started doing these kind of repaint variants. Then you start to see those molds again. But he never brought those figure molds back after they were made one time. Because at the time, he felt that sculpt was important. You know, articulation is also important, but he felt that sculpt was what brings out a figure more. Nowadays, it just feels so... It feels so lazy. And I'm not going to say it's the fault of the people sculpting the figure. It's, you know, at the same time, I really don't know what the reason is. I could say that maybe it's the cost of just everything now. Everything has went up in price. That is why they're in this pattern of just reusing molds, because it's more cost effective than producing new figure molds. Maybe that could be it. I mean, I could be very wrong about this, but I'm just saying it's not the same. And as you've seen this other figure that I've reviewed already, it is a nice thing to see something new once in a while, right? Once in a while we get a new sculpt. And so it's not completely gone. the idea of making a very nice figure is still there. We're just in a really weird period right now. I like to call it a weird period. So this is why I'm looking back at older figures, because I want to take the time to appreciate them. Because again, I've said this in another video, when you collect figures all the time, you sometimes forget the ones you already had. And when you look back at them, you realize, wow, this was one hell of a figure. And I have it. So, okay, with that is the end of this story time dash review. I hope I didn't screw this up. But if you enjoyed this, you can give my channel a sub. You can like this video. You don't have to. But if you do, that is very appreciative of you. And I will see you guys next time in another review.